Hey, visionaries! You are now tuned in to the Starts with a Vision podcast, where everything you do in life starts with a vision. If your vision is clear or foggy, you are in the right place. It's time to go take what's yours, because there's a vision only you can see, and a dream only you can dream. And now, your host, Mr. Starts with a Vision.
What's going on, everybody? This is Isaiah Fowler, aka Mr. SWAV, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the podcast. And today is like none other as well. We have another amazing guest. We have Jovan Shaw on the line today, and we're talking about a very, very interesting niche. He started a business that not a lot of people say that they're going to start, but it has done good for him. It's worked wonders, and he is going global. They're going to be going from where they're at. They already have a few other locations in the U.S., and they're going to be going to Africa and all type of different countries. He is focused on helping men of color, kids of color, become a better version of themselves through the school system. So listen to his story, because not only is it inspirational, but it's informational, and you can learn a lot from him and his story and apply it to your life and your business. What's going on, everybody? You already know this is Isaiah Fowler, a.k.a. Mr. SWAV, Mr. Starts with the Vision, and I really want to say something. We got a very interesting story today. We have a very interesting company. It is an organization, but what's going on is I love the energy that we had before we started recording, because we started talking about all in, and we had to really stop before we started recording because we didn't want to get too deep in it without recording. So today's guest is Jovan Shaw, and he is the founder of Profound Gentlemen. And so, how you doing today, Mario?
I'm doing great.
Man, I want to say thank you first and foremost for your time, because I know we are all busy, but I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I know you have some valuable information to share with people.
Yes, I love doing these. They are fun, so let's get started.
Yeah, man. So let everybody know what the Profound Gentleman is even about.
Yeah. So we just talked about this. Yeah, so Profound Gentlemen, we build communities of male educators of color who offer their profound additional impact specifically on the lives of boys of color. And so our goal is really all about retention for male educators of color and establishing this cradle to career pipeline for boys of color. And so more specifically, what does that look like? How does that work? And so we have staff members that we call impact leaders who facilitate cohorts of no more than 20 gentlemen, and they help those guys to grow. And gentlemen are educators, so male educators of color. And they help those guys to grow in our 4 focus areas: character development, purpose and professional growth, creative mentoring group, and civic and community engagement. And so all 4 of those things are needed in order for us to retain male educators of color. And then also the last 2 that I actually mentioned really is geared towards helping boys of color to succeed. So when I was teaching, I had a student group of boys of color, and I knew the impact that it had on them. And so in our organization, we aim to replicate that model, which helps us to create that cradle to career pipeline for boys of color. So we want to be able to have a male educator of color support them from kindergarten to 12th grade. The only way to do that is to retain them. Also a little bit of recruitment. But again, we know that there are great recruitment organizations out here, but we just want to be able to support them with retention.
That's interesting. How did this whole vision even get started? Because this isn't like I wanted to do real estate, or I wanted to, start this shop. Like, this is something completely off the cusp. And it's so I don't want to call your business random, but it is very, very unique and different, right? So how did you even make this happen or get this started?
No, but it's random. I mean, because it's like, who wakes up and say, I'm going to do a nonprofit to support male educators of color? Well, the thing is that like I have to say, and I've been really focused on this word lately. In the last 2 weeks, I'm supposed to be doing a speech in Chicago. I mean, not in Chicago, but in Atlanta, in October, and they wanted us to give us. They wanted they wanted us to give them our speech title, and what we're going to talk about. And for some reason, this word surrender keeps on coming up. And it's amazing to me because I think what I have always done was like surrender to really the calling that was presented for my life. And again, when I was in college, I honestly wanted to be a fashion PR. I actually had a fashion PR certificate. I wanted to go into fashion PR. I thought it was going to be amazing. I was ready for it. Right. But what ended up happening was I ended up getting this bug to going into education space after being in my black male development classes. And I just always believe in this calling from my life. And I started to really see this path of what it means to support boys of color and also to just help. I feel like my calling is to help people get to their best life. And sometimes a lot of barriers prevent people from being able to live their best life. And specifically, I see in male educators, males of color and boys of color that they're not able to live their best life. And I think that's troublesome when they're not able to live. Sorry, I don't know if you heard the doorbell, but if they're not able to live their best life, that's troublesome for me. And I realized the best place to be able to impact that is through the classroom. Everybody got to go to school. It's illegal if you don't go to school, right? At least through K through 8th grade. Once you get to 9th grade, then the government don't care. But we want it's illegal for parents to not require their students their children to not go to school. So what I realize is that that's the best way to create this pathway is through that. Okay. And so that's how random it is. But I think like it's very random. But I think like the best thing for me was to really acknowledge the fact that like these things continue to show up in my life. And that's how I noticed it. Like these, and I just continue to follow that calling, and surrender to that calling. So in every step, I choose to surrender to whatever is next. So I'm really attached to that, like that surrendering part. Yeah.
So what you do is what you're saying is the way you live your life is you kind of are in tune with who you are and what you think your life is about, and you follow the energy of that. And whenever you have the confirmation, you just say, you know what, I'm gonna give my all to this.
Yes, and it's scary because it's like and living in today's society, we don't really, I think something that really kind of is missing is faith. You know what I mean, in a sense. And I'm not, I'm not super religious, but I a lot of people say I'm not really super religious, but I think but that thing isn't around faith. Is like you have to believe the unseen. You have to literally believe the things that don't exist in order for this world to be a better place. And for me, whenever I hear what I'm supposed to do next and believe in that, and I see these signs of, what we need to do in order to make sure that males of color and boys of color are living a better life, I lean towards it. But all the time, sometimes there's no statistical data around that. Sometimes other people have not even done that or don't even know what it's going to look like. And so I have to, and I'm trying to honestly even get better with communicating, because I have to be able to explain this thing that does not exist, but it's flowing in my head, right? Like this thing exists in my head, and I have to present this picture to people. And I think that's hard. You know what I mean? I get frustrated with that even sometimes because I have to, in that definitely in the space of entrepreneurs and people who are visionaries, right? Which is part of what your podcast is about. When you have a vision, you have to explain it. And oftentimes that vision is not there. It does not. Actually, the real thing is not there. So that vision is the only thing that you're leaning on to. And it takes faith for people to believe in it. And also, it takes faith for you to be able to work at it. And there's going to be failures to come, but you got to keep on going.
Right. Man, you ain't never lied right there. And you said a lot of stuff, and I wanna dive into it a lot more.
Yeah.
You said that you pay attention to the signs, right?
Yeah.
So, and I read, this reminds me of the book The Alchemist, and that's my favorite book.
That's my favorite book.
That's the one?
That's literally my favorite book.
Man. Like, that's my one. Like, that's my number one book that I've read in my entire life, right? Like, for real.
Yeah.
So, it's from that perspective, That book says, follow the omens, right? That's what they talk about a lot.
Yep.
So what were some of the signs for you when you kind of knew, like, yo, I have to do this, like, this is bigger than me? Or, what were some of the signs you saw that the naked eye probably couldn't see, or the average person couldn't see, but you knew because you were more in tune with your journey and who you were?
Yeah, what's funny is majority of my signs, I think what the real dealness of it all is that people get signs, receive signs all the time, but they're not in tune with the signs. And so the first step for me was actually getting in tune with the signs. They're always around you. And for me, it always happened in nature and in just, and honestly, in just objects, honestly, around the house. But then another time it would happen with just, I'm thinking about something, and then my friends, definitely, that's why you got to have really good friends, and you got to be on the same journey and the same alignment with friends, because life speaks to them to talk to you, And so sometimes I'm thinking something, and then one of my friends will say it. I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
Like, okay, I got to do it then. This is it. I got to make it happen. Another one is the craziest thing. A crane is one of those signs. And I know, like, we're talking about omens, we're talking about alchemists and stuff, and people are like, a crane, I'm probably getting real creepy with your audience now. But
nah, you know.
But a crane bird is one of those things that people don't acknowledge and don't see. So I have a dog, and I go running with my dog. And I love running around water. I love water. So sometimes I go to Freedom Park and do it, or Park Road Park, and then even in my apartment complex, there's like this pond and stuff too. And it's crazy that when I go running and I need to make a decision, the decision of yes is whenever I see, like, if I have to make a tough, really, 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 really tough decision that's been on my mind heavy. I kid you not. Every time I have to make that, if it's yes and step into it, a vulnerability, because oftentimes I don't want to make that decision because I'm going to be vulnerable.
Right. And
anytime it's a moment of vulnerability that I have to step yes into, right, I'll always see this bird. Every single time, it never fails. I'm like, dang it. Okay, I gotta do it then. And so I love it. And then sometimes, and it's just like the alchemist too, when you see certain things in nature that brings in. When I looked up what a crane mean, it means strength and perseverance. It also means longevity and stuff like that as well. And I think in order to definitely be in work like this around racial justice issues, you have to have longevity. So sometimes it takes for you to make those drastic decisions when you can't see it, the full picture. Another thing too is my grandparents. Both of my grandparents passed, and about the creeper audience side again. But I believe that people who passed before visit you in your dreams only if you believe in that. But I feel like they come and visit only if they don't. I think the past people who've gone before us. They come back in forms that won't creep you out. So sometimes they will come in a form of like this random song come on, and then you start reminiscing about them, or it will come in the version of them being in your dreams, and then some people actually see them. Now that would creep me out if I actually saw my grandparents walking in my living room. I don't think I can handle that, but I have honestly. My grandparents come and visit me in my dreams, and anytime, and they always have answers every single time. Definitely my granddad always have answers. And sometimes underneath my nose, I could still smell. For me, he used to grow peanuts and he used to roast them, and so sometimes I could still, when I know he's somewhere around or I need to make that decision, I can literally smell those roasted peanuts underneath my nose. So like those type of things are interesting, and yeah, it's just crazy. And when my grandma passed, one of the things that she that I got from her, I didn't know it was crystal, but it was a crystal clock. I didn't know it when I went through TSA. They stopped me like, wait a minute, and so they had to check it because crystal has lead in it. And so it's crazy because in the clock I never noticed it, but it was like a few months ago. The name of the clock is Waterford, which is a name brand crystal company, but I grew up lower middle class. So I didn't know about no name brand crystal company. I didn't even know my trauma. And, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so, but that's actually the name of the address. Part of the address that I stay in. I don't want people to be trying to find where I'm at, but like it's part of the address that I stay in. It's in that clock, and and it was, and at that moment I was really thinking about my space and how my space in my apartment complex have to be a place for me to be creative, because at the time we didn't have an office, and it was just crazy that happened. That I look at the clock, which is on my desk in my apartment complex, and it has part of the address in there, and it was kind of like a sign to me that was like, yes, the space needs to be your space of where you could, you know, grow your vision and be very creative. So I got very creative in my apartment. I love it because every time I go home from work, you know, it's like it's really a place where I can really just feel comfortable and
free.
And just be able to grow. So that was a long drawn out answer, but those are really the signs that you see, and again, they're always around you. You know, you just don't notice them, and so I'm always pushing people to be able to see the signs, see the things that maybe, you know, that surround them, to help them to be able to make those answers that, you know, that you just didn't even know to exist.
Right. and that brings up a point, and you've mentioned this earlier as well. Along with the signs, you mentioned faith, right? And so, you know, you have to have faith in making a decision that when you see this sign, that is the right thing. You know, so how, you know, because you do this full time, you're a full time entrepreneur, and we also talked about going all in. So like, how does, you know, going all in, 2 feet in and not 1 foot in, 1 foot out, along with faith, play a factor in your life and your, you know, entrepreneurial journey?
You know, it definitely, that's a good question. But I think the biggest thing is you do have to know the trajectory where life is taking. You have to know the path that life is trying to take you, and lean into that path and surrender to that area. So I knew that I know that my space is around helping males of color, Black and Latino must be able to live their best life. You know, I know that, and oftentimes again, it goes back to those signs, being able to see that this is just the next thing. Like, it's just like, you know, there are tons of more things that definitely I want to do to help Black and Latino males to live their best life. But like, honestly, you know, that is how I'm able to determine go in on it, you know, because it's going to be beneficial. And there are times when you do go in on stuff and it doesn't work. And I think knowing your patterns too, I think life does present you with patterns. And once you start to recognize those patterns, it becomes easier for you to be able to take that next step, because you know what you're supposed to do. Like, if I was, like, let me see, I'm trying to think if it was something that I was supposed to, like, I'm not going to step into, you know, some other form of, like, I would never try to go become a dentist like that. Like, right. As much as I know, like you know what I mean, or a doctor. Like, as much as I appreciate those positions, I know that there's a lack of Black males in those positions. I know that that's not where I'm supposed to go, rightfully so. You know what I mean? Right. So, and you just got to know where you start to notice those patterns of where you're supposed to go. And I guess the way to acknowledge those patterns is really to lean on your past, to lean on the things that really that you have struggled with. Right. I grew up and didn't have the best of teachers. I had some great teachers, and those great teachers really did push me forward. And I knew that was part of the reason why, you know, I was able to go to college and stuff. And then when I was in college, you know, I had so many mentees that I was mentoring. In my freshman year in college, at first, I struggled a lot. I struggled heavy. And I think it was because of that experience helped me to actually become a leader. Right. And then when I was at the University of Cincinnati's campus, I actually was the Black Student Union president and started really getting into racial and community justice issues and starting to change, you know, how the university treats black students on campus and stuff, and that all played all of those things are patterns that help me to see that these are that this is the steps that I need to take, and these are the next moves that I need to make in order to make the world a better place. It's all about servant leadership and contributing back to people. But yeah, that's our
And when did you pretty much surrender and go full time for this?
As soon as we started it, like honestly, one of the things that happened, this is crazy, because I didn't share this with our conference call part of the conversation, but so it's interesting. So again, I told you I the way that I started in teaching was through Teach for America. And in my second year, I ended up joining a program called Dream Rise Do that was a part of Teach for America. Teach for America is an organization that helps to bring in tons of teachers to teach in low-income communities and do great things. And so Teach for America acknowledged that there was a need to increase more black male teachers. So they chose 3 black males to follow and to be like spokespersons for this. And so I ended up being a part of that. And so part of being a Teach for America, you only in it for 2 years, but then you get to continue to teach. And then they have full-time roles that you can apply for. And one of their roles to apply for was their recruitment position, where you could help to recruit more people to join this organization to then go teach. And I was very excited about it. I've already been doing it through the Dream I Do program. Crazy thing is, I went through the interviews and didn't get the job. Devastated, because I'm like, I didn't already been doing this work. Like, what happened?
Right.
So when I got the feedback for why I did not receive the job, they told me because I was not good at code switching, and that was for lack of better words. They really did put a little they coded it. You know what I mean? So they didn't really say code switching, but for lack of better words, that's what they meant. And I could have thought of that as a negative thing or a positive thing. And obviously saying you can't code switch is a negative thing. But I said, but maybe it's because I'm in a place where I don't like to change who I am, and I think, in order for us to really make the society a better place, you have to accept all people. And I think that's really where I began to get that, is that, like, you know what, like, that's the reason why I didn't get it. You know what I mean? Because the message for me is that, like, oftentimes the reason why a lot of males of color don't get things is because, when they're not white enough, or they, they're not assimilated into the culture enough. And what we need to do is, like, respect them for being who they are and what they bring to the table. And so I chose to stick to who I was. And then I ended up getting a call from Noble Charter Schools, who in Chicago, which is the number one charter school in Chicago, and a part of a huge network. And they heard about the great things I was doing to Teach for America and wanted me to actually be a part of their diversity recruitment team. So I went through 12 interviews. Went to Chicago. Damn. Twice. Yes, 12 interviews. 12. And it was heavy. And they offered me the job. At the time, I was also working for an organization called Urban Promise, which is based in Charlotte. And because I stopped teaching in my second year, I ended up working for Urban Promise. And after my second year and my third year, I ended up working for Urban Promise. And then while working for Urban Promise, that's when Noble reached out to me. And I went through 12 interviews. They sent me an offer letter. It was like to make twice as much I was making Urban Promise. I was like, Lord Jesus, this is good. You know what I mean? The funny thing is, something told me not to take the job. I'm like, don't take the job? Nope, don't take the job. And I said, what? What do you mean? So I called them, told them I'm not going to take the job. They're devastated because they're like, you did 12 interviews, sir. Right. Like, anybody do 12 interviews and get an offer, they're going to accept it.
Right.
I didn't accept it. I did not want to. Something told me not to take the job. 3 days later, we end up hearing about this organization called Echo and Green. Me and my business partner end up hearing about this organization called Echo and Green, which is a nonprofit that gives seed funding to start nonprofit organizations. At the time, Profound Gentleman was only like 4 or 5 months. We were like young, and that's what I was telling you earlier. We were only 4 or 5 month organization, and at the time, we were like, let's just try, like, let's see what we could do. we ended up making it through all of the interviews and actually getting Echo and Green, which had given us the $90,000 to start our organization. That's the money that we received to start Profound Gentlemen. And so if I would have took that noble job, I wouldn't have did Echo and Green.
Right.
And so it's like that type of stuff is like extremely crazy when I hear those stuff. Like something literally told me, and I got a text message from one of my friends. See, that's why I say it's so important for you to align yourself to people who believe in what you're doing and stuff. You got to have friends to believe in it. Mm-hmm. And one of my friends sent me the text message like, you guys should apply for this. I know y'all young organization. I think you guys should apply.
Damn.
And I applied for it. And both of us, my business partner, we applied for it. And that's how we got the seed funding. And then we got it from Walton Family Foundation, which is like hard to get. Uh-huh. And then we ended up finding out, Echo and Green is a global organization. Literally, 30 organizations from around the world. They tell us in our first, this is how great life is, like they tell us in our first conference that that the next conference is going to be in Johannesburg, South Africa, and they're paying for it all.
Really?
Like going from here, you know what I mean, to not getting a job on recruitment, Teach for America, then going to Johannesburg, South Africa was amazing. Right. Literally amazing experience. And then we got connections in Johannesburg, South Africa, and they want us to bring Profound Gentlemen there. Eventually we will do that, but it's like we will eventually be like a global organization. Right. Which is amazing. And so it's just like, man, that's how life works and like how God like does things, and like you just literally have to align yourself to what you're supposed to do. And you gotta, and like the more you get in tune with that, the more it's easier for you to know the signs and to see the signs and to know when to say no. You probably say more no. You'll probably hear and say more no's than yes. Yeah. And the thing is, the yes will take you 2-3 years. Where a no will only last about 2 weeks or maybe even a week before.
Then you gotta say then you gotta say no again.
You gotta say no again, yeah. Right. But a yes will last 2-3 years. That's why I say, like, you just gotta wait for the yes, because the yes lasts a long time. Right. A no is temporary. Yes, well. And so you got like that's why there are not that many yeses, because you don't. When you say yes, and even when I say yes, I'm making a commitment to something, right? And so It's like. I can't say yes to everything because I can't be that committed to everything, and so that's why I'm very cautious of what I say yes to. So yeah, man,
that's that's some heavy stuff right there, because it's so real. Like I wish people I wish everybody could relate to what you just said. I know I could relate. I know exactly what you're saying. Like, you cannot be committed to everything. And that goes with life, business, spouses, all of that stuff. That goes with your decisions in life. If you say, I'm going to start eating better, if you say yes to that, you need to be committed to that. That's a lifestyle change. All of that stuff, man. Like, that's so deep. So, you said in the future, the company is going to be global, and that's pretty much, what the vision is, or is there any other vision for, Profound Gentlemen?
Yeah, that's a long-term vision, for us to be global. But our next thing, really, in the next 2 years, is open up other sites, and nationally. So we're looking at open up 2 new sites nationally. So we're in the process of that. Right now, we're in Atlanta, Charlotte, Chicago, Memphis, D.C. But the cool thing about it is that we have an app where we're able to connect with guys from around the country. They don't have to be in our local communities. Although, like, we do more work in the local communities, we still have part-time staff members who serve our online community, because we may have somebody in Timbuktu who needs the help, but who's going to start an organization in Timbuktu? Right. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to always hit those Atlanta, Chicago, Philadelphia, Cleveland. You're going to always hit those major cities before you do like some smaller city. Because it's harder work. It costs more on the plane to get there. Because I travel a lot to our regions, and when you talk about a smaller city, the plane ticket goes up, and so it costs more when you have to do those smaller cities. And then oftentimes the resources are scarce to do those smaller cities. So what we do is we make sure that although there may be a small city, they're able to connect with us and get that support.
100%, man. Well, where can people find out more about you and Profound Gentleman as well?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter at Mario Jovan, so MarioJovan, and then we're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. For our organization is Profound Gentleman for Facebook, and then for Instagram is Profound Gentleman as well, and then for Twitter is PG Educator.
Okay.
And so, and then you go to profoundgentleman.org. Become a friend is our volunteer opportunities. So we ask people who maybe are not male educators of color to join us through through volunteer opportunities, and we're going to be beefing that up. And this quarter, we really want to provide more opportunities for people to come in and support us. Mm-hmm. And then if you are a male educator of color and listen to this, then you could join us. Our membership is $25, and then we have a college membership for $5.
Okay.
And then if you can't pay $25, still come and talk to us because we'll help you out. Because the goal is for you to receive those resources. So.
100%. Man, this is amazing, man. What's the best advice that you could give an entrepreneur at any level? It don't even matter. Yeah,
I think the best advice you can give, I could give an entrepreneur, is for them to be themselves. And and that's the message I received when I did not get the Teach for America job. It reminded me that every opportunity I want and every opportunity that is for me should be given to me, not because I'm trying to be somebody else, but I'm trying to be myself.
Right.
And so I think for any entrepreneur out there, the first thing that you have to do is learn how to be comfortable being yourself. It's hard with social media and stuff. Mm-hmm. You see on Instagram somebody doing this, and you be like, okay, that's the way, you know what I mean? And,
right.
And so in this day and age, it's even harder than great leaders that had come before us to be ourselves. And so I think that's the biggest challenge, and the best advice is to be yourself.
Right. That's deep, man, because a lot of people do not. A lot of people aren't, and they're just trying to fit in instead of just being themselves. So that's good stuff, man.
And it's hard. I mean, we have to understand it's hard to be yourself in this day in society. I'm not going to act like it's a practice. Authenticity is a practice. Vulnerability is a practice. It's not. I learned is that people don't. They're not people who are just born to be authentic, and people are born to be inauthentic. Authenticity happens every single day. You have to wake up and say, I'm going to be my most authentic self. Right. And even sometimes in the hour of the moment, a great person you should listen to is Dr. Brene Brown. She's amazing, but she talks about vulnerability and authenticity. And sometimes she say minute by minute, you have to be authentic. Sometimes it takes you to, sometimes life will force you to try to get out of that space. So I try to be authentic every single day. And so that's the practice that I have to do. Yeah. Well, this is fun though.
Yeah, man, it is. And I appreciate you being you and just sharing what you've shared, because it's been some deep stuff on this conversation, on this episode. So I know a lot of people can take a lot from this one. So I appreciate that. And I also appreciate your time and your energy.
No problem. I really enjoy it. So thank you very much.
No problem. Well, everybody listening, with that being said, that wraps up today's episode. Not only be yourself, but follow them signs. Have faith in all that you do, and know that it's going to be okay. It's going to be good. It's going to work out. And, go start that business. At the end of the day, that's what it's about.
Yes.
So I appreciate you, Mario, man. And we're going to talk to you guys on the next show.
Thanks for listening to the Starts With a Vision podcast. Come get your vision clear at www.startswithavision.com. See you there.